Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to Exceptional Women with Grit, Valentine's Edition. Hey, Lee.
Hey, how are you? Looks like you're ready to go out too.
I'm ready. That's right. I'm trying to get out, trying to make sure that this is going to be an amazing time, an amazing day, but
Yeah.
not without first connecting with our phenomenal guest this evening. How are
Mhm.
you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. I'm looking forward to Valentine's Day and
Yes.
hope our listeners are too. We understand if you are not checking this out at 6 p.m. Central Time and catching the replay because you're probably where you need to be.
Exactly. Yes. You know
So
what? You think we should.
enjoy your night out.
That's right. So, what plans do you have, Lee?
We'll see. We just have to play it by ear. We're now so part of it. We already went to Las Vegas, and we kept
Uh-huh.
calling that part of our Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. And we're more of a lunch crowd, so
Okay.
we've already done our our lunch versus dinner. The food is the same. The crowd is what's
Hmm.
different. And
Hmm.
so we so we've
Avoid the
done
rush.
that, and just just at this point, just chilling out. We still have homework and stuff to do with the kids. None of that goes away just because of um, you know because of the day. So we'll keep it moving. How about you?
Exactly. My little guy, we're hanging out tonight.
Okay.
It's been a fun day. Just in terms of care and doing all of those fun things. So, V
Hmm.
Day is the day that I spend with my little person.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Fun,
Cool.
fun.
Cool. Cool. Well, you
Yeah.
all have fun.
Yes, we definitely will. But I know the guests and viewers didn't come to hear us talk. So
They
while
did.
you are tuning in, make sure that you like, share, and definitely share the content. We have another amazing, phenomenal guest this evening talking about standing on strong shoulders and
Hmm.
building from one legacy to the next. Like that's really what it's about, being able to pass the baton, right, Lee?
That's right. That's exactly what it is. I tell you what, I was just, after our show the other day, I had a number of phone calls from last week,
Mm-hmm.
and people just really enjoyed our guest and enjoyed, and we're happy that we were back. They're
Yes,
like, man, I've been missing my women with grit,
that's
So,
right.
so people are excited that we're back, and we're excited. This is episode number 2 of season 4.
Season
So,
4, going strong. I've been getting the same feedback too, Lee. So, we're definitely back in full effect with a slew of amazing guests. And
mhm.
tonight is no shortage. Let me.
So we are excited then to get started with our guest today. Um, and again, as Sherelle said, make sure that you get all of the information out to your friends and let them know to jump on. Let's welcome our guest this morning, I'm sorry, this evening. How are you, Dr. Thomas?
I am awesome and happy to be with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you. We are happy that you are here with us today, and our listeners are just going to be excited about what they hear and learn about you. I know just in the short amount of information I've gotten about you, I'm looking forward to hearing more and learning more. But you're definitely a phenomenal person, a phenomenal woman. With a story to tell and an opportunity to encourage and inspire so many of our listeners.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you
So
for having me.
you're welcome. So I tell you what, to kind of get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from. Give us a little history on your background, and then we'll jump into some more questions.
Yeah. And I think, my background is really significant to where I am and who I am now.
Hmm.
I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama,
Okay.
really in the height of the civil rights movement,
Mm.
not as a participant, but as an observer because I was far too young to participate. But
Right.
I have memories of marches, chants, songs,
Mm.
meetings. But I also remember the fear that might have been in the air. But be that as it may, I still came from a long line of strong women,
Okay.
which I think really helped to shape the person that I am today.
Hmm.
They were professional women despite what was going on around them. Montgomery was the home of Alabama State University.
Yes.
The Black Teachers College. And
Mhm.
so most of my mother's friends were teachers and graduates of Alabama State
Okay.
University. So my Saturday, our kitchen table was filled with those folk.
Oh,
And
wow. Cool.
so I think that they really helped to shape the woman that I became.
Okay. Understood. Yeah, it's nothing like being able to. There's a saying. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men of America, and there's a saying: "What they see, they'll be," and nothing like you having the opportunity to see what you could be, and being able to be encouraged at such a young age. So one of the questions we always ask our guests, because again, the name of this program is Women with Grit.
Yeah, but hang on, Lee. Before we go any further,
Okay.
and I apologize for cutting out, we would be remiss without actually sharing Dr. Thomas's bio. I mean, just to know the nature of the woman that is before us is just phenomenal. So if you allow me a second to read it, and then definitely, I know you're getting ready to jump into her unique story of grit, but just to give you guys, the viewers, informally and I guess appropriately introduce Dr. Thomas. Dr. Alvetta Peterman Thomas currently serves as the president of the Executive Leadership Academy and Talent Initiatives for the Technical College System of Georgia and its system of over 22 colleges. She provides system-wide leadership for a comprehensive leadership development program for assistant commissioners, college presidents, vice presidents, deans, as well as directors. But prior to her leadership role with the Technical College System of Georgia, Dr. Thomas served as the president of Southern Crescent, Technical College. And during her 5-year tenure at that college, Dr. Thomas exercised oversight for over $30 million budget and the operations of the 5 campus locations spreading over 8 counties in Georgia's South Atlanta region. And under her leadership, the college improved in all of its key performance indicators. It also increased business and industry partnerships, as well as new programs of study for high demand careers. Dr. Thomas also led the college through multiple building renovations, campus expansions, as well as new construction. Prior to her arrival at the Southern Crescent Technical College in 2016, Dr. Thomas served for 8 years as the president of Atlanta Technical College. And under her leadership, the college increased enrollment, developed global partnerships, and expanded the campus facilities. Atlanta Technical College was also recognized as the 2012 Technical College System of Georgia College of the Year and America's Best Community College in 2007. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Before her appointment as president, Dr. Thomas served as the vice president of academic affairs at Atlanta Tech. Prior to that, she served as the executive director at Skills for Tomorrow Charter High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Dr. Thomas has a lifelong passion for education, empowerment, equity, as well as inclusion. She has been honored by the National Science Foundation, the U.S. House of Representatives, the City of Atlanta, the Atlanta Business League, the Fayette County NAACP, and the list goes completely on to the Ford Motor Company, as well as the 2016 Graduate School Alumni of Distinction Award, and she has been honored as a Circle of 50 member of the Adult Learning, Leadership, and Organizational Development Program at the University of Georgia. Her community involvement is also vast as well, serving on the boards of the Fayette Chamber of Commerce, Business Women Empowerment Project, the Phenomenal Women's Health Incorporated organization. She is also a member of the Strategic Planning Committee and resides in the Metro Atlanta area. She's a proud mother as well as grandmother. We would be remiss without, going through the body of work that you've done. So thank you so much for taking the time to grace the stage and properly introduce you to our audience here on Women with Grit.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you, Sherelle. So I know you feel like now, okay, obviously for her to have accomplished as much as she has, she's had to deal with some obstacles and she's obviously got some grit. But we're going to ask you, Dr. Thomas, share one of your unique stories of grit. When you think about your life, think about whatever that toughest time was where you just had to, give yourself the pep talk and pull yourself up and out of whatever situation you were in, or get over whatever obstacle that you had to get over.
I would have to say that as a Black woman, working in a primarily male, sometimes environment,
Mm-hmm.
that's a constant talk.
Mm.
Um, I was in a meeting just this morning for the Fayette Chamber, and I looked around the room, and I was the only person of color, and one of two women. And far too often in my career trajectory, that has been the story. And I'm not in one of those unique fields to women. I'm in education,
Right.
but a leader in education. And so I think one of the things that I'm constantly reminded of is that, number one, there still is a gap.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, like me, people need to see themselves in the picture. And I am happy that I still have the energy to continue to share what I have so that other people, other Black women, young Black women in particular, can see themselves in the picture. I think that's really important. So when it gets tough, I just think about the fact that, okay, you can't give up.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a gap, and you just have to pull it out. And I have had some tough. I think the toughest time of my career occurred about 2 years ago, really
Okay.
2.5 years ago. Um, I was going about my business, doing everything I'm supposed to do, very successful career.
Mm-hmm.
And my father and my husband passed away within months of each other.
Oh, wow.
My father July, my husband October.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
So, I buried the two most important men in my life
Mm-hmm.
within a very short period of time. And
Right.
so that was tough because even when I consider my father passed in July, my husband in October, my husband was sick. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm juggling all the balls in the air over that
Mm-hmm.
period of time. And so sometimes, you have to take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
You have to practice some self-care, and sometimes we don't do that enough.
Okay.
But when it really gets tough for me, I take it to the Lord in prayer. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's and that I know that sounds like a cliche, but it is what I do, and it is what I learned from my ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about what our ancestors went through, how could they have made it through without prayer?
Right.
So when it gets really tough, I lean in and
Mm-hmm.
kneel down.
Okay.
I'm always praying,
Right.
but I kneel in a little harder.
Okay.
And I think that kind of helps me to see where I need to go. And the other thing I do is I look to other people like me
Mm-hmm.
who made it through.
Okay.
And so I think, well, you know what? If they did it, then why can't I?
Right.
Or when it really gets tough, like when I tell you about my dad and my husband, I went through a period where I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. And then
Mm-hmm.
one day it came to me, well, why not you?
Okay. Why not you?
What makes you different? Why wouldn't you have to go through this?
Mm-hmm.
And what can you and others learn from your experience? So
Gotcha.
so absolutely that, thinking about others and others in both ways, others that I can help in the
Mm-hmm.
future and others who have helped me in the past.
Gotcha. So now, it's interesting that you talk about, looking at other people or thinking about the other people that have had different, have had similar experiences and being able to draw strength from that. I talk about that a lot when I was moderating a panel um, last week and talked about how there was a gentleman in the room that had been in the business, 40 plus years. And I said, not that I ever really sat down to talk to him about the business, but I could look at him and see what he had done. And felt like, okay, I see how he's operating, that let me model that. Um, so did you reach out to the people, or were you just able to draw from seeing them and knowing what they had gone through?
I draw from seeing them and knowing what they offer.
Hmm.
And, and there is, I talked about that long line of strong women
Hmm.
whose shoulders that I stand on.
Yes.
And one of those women was my great grandmother. My
Okay.
great grandmother's, her name was Lina Tarver. And I always speak her name when I'm talking because not because my mother or my grandmother were not equally as important. They were, but for
Hmm.
me, she's where I start. I don't know much about the lineage beyond her. So she's where I start.
Gotcha.
But she's a great starting point because in 1865,
Hmm.
she had a teacher's certificate in the state of Alabama, in Lee
Wow.
County, Alabama.
And we know that wasn't easy.
That
Correct.
wasn't easy. And not only that, but she was not a light-skinned woman. You think back to a light-skinned woman sometimes had it a
Hmm.
little bit easier. She was a dark-skinned woman.
Wow.
Very intelligent, very strong. And so I don't remember her, but I have in my possession her teaching certificates,
Okay.
and I hold those very dear. And so I gained strength from an understanding that, gosh, what must she have had to go through? Um,
Hmm.
and given where I am today, what I'm going through is pales by comparison, I'm sure, to what she endured. And so that gives me strength. And the other thing is, I want them to be proud of me. I want them to know that their investment in me yielded further growth, that seed is planted and then it pollinates and it keeps being replanted. And so there is more success. I have a daughter and a son, and I have two granddaughters and a grandson. I want that seed to continue to grow in
Hmm.
them. And so that's important to me. And also it's important to me to plant and grow the seed in others who I mentor.
Okay.
And that I'm very, very proud of the fact that I've had the opportunity to mentor others to the presidency, to college presidency.
Oh,
That's
wow. Okay.
important to me, very important to me.
Hmm.
So let me ask you a quick question on the topic of, you know, the things that your grandmother had to overcome. When you look at the things that you've had to personally overcome, what would you say you've had to do in order to get to where you are?
I like the term grit
Mm-hmm.
because I've had to be gritty. I've had to lean in. But when I talk to leadership groups or other women, one of the exercises that I take them through is I tell them, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and think of where you want to be when you grow up, whenever that is. Because I look at grow up, I think growing is a constant experience, no matter how growing has nothing to do with age.
Yeah.
Growing is just a constant experience. So think about where you want to be as you grow. And then open your eyes and think about the steps that it takes to get there. So not biting off the whole thing at one time, but just growing. So in my experiences, I've had to take it a little bit at a time and grow. I shared with you offline that I was a teenage mother
Right.
and had a baby in high school.
Mhm. That must have been
But
confusing.
I knew that I couldn't stop. I had to continue. I had a strong support system, but I knew that I had to continue. So I finished high school with my class in the top 10% of my class. But that takes a determination of spirit, it takes will, it takes an understanding that um, you can be what you need to be. You just may take a little longer. You may have to walk some additional steps to get there, but never give up. That's the key to never give up. Stay true to yourself and just don't give up. And I think that's what has carried me. I'm a pusher. I don't give up.
That is awesome. You know, one of the things that I find to be extremely remarkable in all of our guests is this recurring theme of the importance of having a strong support system, tribe that also helps to re-encourage the determination that you have to be gritty, as you have said. So when you think about that body of people or those that have supported you and pushed you along the way, who would you say has attributed to your success? The women, but also the men, right, as well?
So I have a great story for that too. I talked about the strong women in my life because, of course, my grandmother was a nurse
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. My mom was a teacher back in the day. Sometimes my mom held multiple jobs. So there are a lot of those women in my life. But when I came into the system in which I currently work, um, I had a lady to look at me one day and say, "Thomas, you're going to be a president." It was not on my radar to be a college president. That was not what I wanted to be when I grew up. Never thought about it. I was going to be when I grew up, I was going to be a lawyer. That was my profession. But that trajectory didn't happen because I really probably wasn't willing to put in the work. And when I say put in the work, I mean not put in the work academically, but I didn't want to pay for um, uh, college. So to get a law school scholarship, I was going to have to go out to the Midwest. I didn't want to go to a cold climate. So I shifted gears and I got a scholarship at Clark Atlanta University. And so with that, I decided I was just going to go to graduate school. But looking back over that, the lady that looked at me one day and said, "Thomas, you're going to be a president," her name was Brenda Watts Jones. And she was then the president of Atlanta Technical College. She was the first Black female president of a technical college in this system. Um, and she said, "You'll be a president one day." And so listening to her, she spoke it into existence. But not only did she spoke it into existence, she gave me opportunity to grow. She gave me leadership responsibility so that I could lean in and grow into that role. Well, unfortunately, before I could leave Brenda to become a president on my own, Brenda passed away with inflammatory breast cancer.
Wow.
She was diagnosed, and within 8 months, she was gone.
Wow.
And that's a defining moment for me because I, at that point, had no idea what next step I would take.
Yeah.
And I was appointed interim president. And I remember at her funeral crying on the shoulder of a colleague saying, "I am just so afraid," because it was a lot of responsibility
Yeah.
to take on that college. And so fast forward, I was appointed to the presidency, and I'll make this quick, but this is really an important part of the story.
Yeah.
I couldn't go in her office. It was dark. I wouldn't turn the lights on. My office was next door to hers, so I was really comfortable sitting in my vice president's chair and not moving over to the president's chair. And I said, "Okay, I can president from this chair." But a colleague who's a white female, and this tells you me this is another part of you can get it from anywhere. She came to me, she said, "Now look, this can't be. We're gonna turn the lights on in that office. Brenda wouldn't want it this way, and you need to go sit at that desk."
Mm.
And so I did that, and I started to clean out the desk, and a tape recorder popped out. And I said, I'm not going to listen to this because I thought it was a performance issue. I don't want to deal with it right now.
Yeah.
The next morning, I came into the office and went into the file cabinet to get a pencil, and some batteries popped up. I was telling me something. So I turned on the tape recorder. I finally got enough courage to turn it on. And it was amazing. It was Brenda in a speech. She practiced her speeches. I never practiced. I just stand for that foot and deliver. She practiced. So she was practicing a speech that she was going to give to some AT&T executives.
Mm.
And in the speech, she told the story, and it was probably fictional, but I don't know if it was true or not, but it did what it needed to do for me.
Right.
But she told the story of a doctor in a small town who treated all of his patients without regard for payment. And so many people he saved that didn't pay him. And he passed away. And when he passed away, because he had treated all his patients without payment, there was no money to bury him, no money for a headstone. So the town came together and buried him because he had done so much for everybody, but they couldn't afford a headstone. And when they looked for a headstone, they looked at his shingle that hung above his office, and it said Dr. So-and-so up there. And she ended it by saying, "What will yours say?"
What will yours say?
What will yours say? Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That was a defining moment for me in that transition, because I was really struggling with it, really struggling with it. So the answer to my question was, Lord, what do I do next? Why am I here? I had no choice but to be there. And I had to continue the work that she and I had done together. And I had to make her proud of me. And so I continued on my journey in doing that. And that was in 2008.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a while.
So did you answer that question? What you want yours to say?
Yes.
A little bit morbid, but since we're on the topic.
Yeah. I wanted it to say that I helped people.
Okay.
I wanted it to say that I supported the students that I served. I wanted it to say that I provided opportunity for others. I wanted it to say that I shared myself with others. And so that was really my foundation and how I got to the presidency. I mean, it's a long story. I mean, I've had other jobs, so many other. I mean, I had a top secret security clearance for the Department of Defense. I worked for the Department of Defense for many years. I was an archivist. I sat in a vault declassifying documents. I was a declassification archivist. I read classified documents and determined when they could be released to the public. So I had done a lot of things, but by far, I think in my career, the most important thing that I did was in academia. In my personal life, the most important job that I had was a daughter, a mother, a grandmother. And so to a large degree, the grit that you need it in all those spaces.
Very true. Now tell us a little bit about how you've balanced yourself being a mother, being a president of a university or college, as well as everything else that you've done. How have you been able to balance it all?
For a long time I didn't. And I just kept going like the Energizer Bunny. Didn't practice self-care, just had to get it done. As a matter of fact, I did my doctorate while I was working. And most nights I didn't sleep more than 3 or 4 hours. When I didn't mention that at one point, my husband had been sick for a long time, but at one point he was in the hospital for 37 days. And it was during that time that Brenda was diagnosed with breast cancer. So she was getting a mastectomy and he was getting prepared for dialysis in the same hospital. So I didn't practice a lot of self-care, but I learned over the years, it took me a lot of years to figure out that I had to take better care of myself, that I had to start exercising, that, I had to start meditating. But I will say that all the time, I was deeply engaged in prayer. I'm very spiritual. So all of that, I think, is the main thing in terms of my self-care is spiritual. But I'm learning now that it's much more. If I'm going to be really spiritual, I have to take care of the temple that God gave me. So exercising, eating right, meditating. And I don't know how to meditate, but someone turned me on to sleep meditation.
Okay.
So I turn that thing on and it speaks positive things to me all night long. And I think I wake up in the morning and it went in somewhere.
Mhm. That's important.
Yeah. So what's your favorite workout?
Oh, I walk on a treadmill,
Okay.
and I'm trying to do some squats.
Okay. All right. That's good for the
Yes.
knees and
I've
everything
gotten
else.
up to 20 a day,
Oh, congrats. That's good.
so
That's really
it's
good.
hard.
It is
That
hard.
is awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Thomas, I think believe it or not, we're halfway through our time. It goes by so fast. So what we're going to do is we'll pull you backstage, allow you an opportunity to grab a drink for just a minute, and then we'll pull you back up and move into the second half. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thanks.
Awesome. Wow, Lee.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Exciting. I mean, I have so many words of wisdom, just the ability, the homage, and just the amount of respect that she pays to those who
Hmm.
have paved the way. I
Right.
think it's so important, and especially something that we want to continue as generations continue to grow, right? And
Hmm.
then the space of self-care and why that's important, and just the ability to never give up and never quit and to keep
Right.
pushing, because it's more than just the nature of what you have to accomplish, but again, going back to continuing to build from one legacy to the next, and
Hmm.
and just the vivid imagery about what will your headstone say,
Hmm. Yeah, that brings it all home right there.
Exactly. My goodness, I'm just so excited. So those of you who are tuning in, again, like and share us. Make sure that you go ahead and tune in. We have another amazing guest on tonight,
Yes, we do.
Dr. Peterman Thomas. I mean, just an amazing woman, as well. And in the space of academia, like and share, and go ahead and drop your name, city, and state where you are tuning in from in the chat function. We're so excited that you took the time out of your busy schedule on Valentine's Day, if you're joining us live, or even if you're catching the replay, to check in with another amazing and pioneering guest that we have on the stage. Anything
Yes,
else
we
you want to
do.
add, Lee?
No, I'm really excited about our guest today, and just looking forward to learning more and all the stuff. I take this stuff in and try to figure out where in my life some of the nuggets fit and how they'll help me move forward as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage, you can't take everything, but I always encourage people to pick two or three things that work. Sometimes it may just be one.
Mm-hmm.
As my pastor says, sometimes you just need to put it in deep freeze and come back to it later when you need it. So,
That's
um,
right.
but yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting back with Dr. Thomas.
Awesome. So let's bring her back up.
All right.
Hey again, Dr. Thomas.
Hello.
Hello.
What a phenomenal time we are having. I mean, it tends to go by just so fast. Again, thank you so much for taking a moment to grace our stage. So I have a question as we jump into the second half. And this one I'm going to steal from Lee, because Lee normally asks this question. What do you do for fun?
Oh, I mentioned earlier that I'm a widow now. And so, but when my husband was alive, we played golf. And I don't play much anymore because I won't take the time to do it. He made me take the time to do it.
Okay.
But he also left a legacy of music. So I love music. We went to a lot of concerts. So I listen to music. I read. I think that's so important. And the music relaxes me. I'm really relaxed when I'm listening to music, and primarily jazz. That's what I was, and then I love spending time with my family. That always gets me into a happy place when we can have fun times together. And I
So
like to travel a bit too. I don't travel as much as I used to, but I do like traveling.
So do your children and grandchildren still live close by, or are they all over?
Yeah, one of them, my daughter lives very close, probably about 15 minutes away.
Okay.
And my grandchildren do too. They all live very, very close. And they are 20, well, one's soon to be 26.
Okay.
The oldest grandchild, the other one is soon to be 23. And then my grandson, the youngest, is soon to be 20.
Okay.
And the 26-year-old is about to have a baby. So I'm about to be a great grandmother.
Oh wow! Hey, look
Oh,
at
that's exciting.
God has blessed you to see the next generation.
Yeah, it is a blessing. It really is a blessing.
Now, have any of them gone into education?
No, none of them. And you know what? I'll tell you this about education, the whole thing about education. I didn't think I was going to go into education. I went kicking and screaming. I said,
Mhm.
that's not what I'm going to do. I remember my college advisor telling me, Peterman, you need to get a teaching certificate. I said, I'm not teaching. I'm
Oh
not
wow!
getting a teaching certificate. But
Mhm.
he convinced me, and I ended up teaching for some time. So no, none of them did. My daughter is in law enforcement.
Okay.
My son is in technology.
Okay.
Uh, granddaughters are in healthcare,
Okay. Okay.
and right now my grandson is working on welding. So I
Okay.
mean, they're doing themselves, and I'm letting them grow doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. I was just checking to see, and of course, sometimes this stuff skips a generation. We'll see what happens next.
yeah. You never know, because I mean, there could be late bloomers.
Right, that's true. They could come back and say, you know what? Like my grandmother, she went back to school after all her kids were grown, and so she was mid 40s, early 50s, and got her teaching license, her master's, and she wound up teaching
Mhm.
for 16 years.
Yeah,
Um, so you
you
just
never
never know.
know.
Yep,
Mm-mm.
never know. So as you think about the future of education, there's a lot of conversation about the cost of education. Of course, I didn't get any student loans in school, so it wasn't going to affect me at all. But there was almost a windfall of student loan debt being paid off. As you think about this cost though, and the continued escalation of costs, what are some things that are driving the cost, and is it possible to stabilize the cost of education, or is it just what it is?
So education is just like the economy
Hmm.
when you think about it. Let's look at my profession, because I'm technical college system. So my jobs are highly skilled and technical.
Hmm.
So if you think about it, let's look at nursing as an example. So there's a shortage of nurses, right?
Right.
The cost for hiring a nurse is just over the top right now. I mean, nurses are making over six figures easy, without even thinking about it. So when whatever profession you think about out there
Hmm.
that's being trained for in a college or university, think about, we got to pay the teachers the exact same amount or more.
Ah, okay. Ha.
So inflation helps to drive that cost. The cost of education goes with the cost of everything else.
Hmm.
The cost of equipment to teach a class. It's very complicated, high tech equipment. It's very costly. If it's costly in the workplace, it's costly in the classroom. So if you think about it like that, then that helps to understand why the cost of education keeps driving up.
Okay.
But I'm happy to say that, particularly in Georgia, and there's a national move for some of this.
Hmm.
Georgia has a lot of opportunity for students to go to college debt free,
Right.
through the Hope Scholarship. But a lot of people don't know about the Hope Grant. There is a grant program under the Hope Scholarship that will pay for 2-year technical programs,
Okay.
almost fully pay for them. I
Hmm.
mean, the governor of the state of Georgia has identified certain high demand careers. So you think about education, healthcare, manufacturing, truck driving, transportation and logistics, high demand careers. Those students can go to a technical college free if you're a
Mm.
Georgia citizen. So I think that parents and students need to explore their options for education. It doesn't happen enough. And then I am a big proponent of community college and technical education because it is far less expensive. And most of the time, I won't say all the time, but if the college is accredited by a regional accrediting body, most of the time that credit is transferable to a 4-year institution.
Okay.
Good. That's good. So,
Mm.
quick question for you when it comes to just women in general that are thriving or young in their careers and navigating that space, what advice would you give them as they are coming up through the ranks?
One of the things that I say to people all the time is, decide what you want to be or who you want to be and take the steps to get there. But don't be afraid to explore, because the decision that you make may not be final. If I give you an example, I've had students who say, I want to be a nurse. And they start the program, they come back and say, but nursing is yucky. I can't do that. So explore your options. Do internships. Get engaged with apprenticeship programs, so that you can test the waters and see what it's like. Visit other people who work in those professions and ask them what it's like to work in those professions. Get their guidance. When I thought I was going to go to law school, I went to visit a judge.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what was involved, what would I have to face in doing that. And so I strongly encourage people to research, and women in particular. And I encourage women, don't feel limited, because you're only limited by your imagination and your willingness or your grit. There are some limitations, but push the envelope.
I love that
Be
word,
strong.
grit. I love when you
Yeah,
say
I do
grit.
too. I really do too. Push the envelope. Be strong. Know what it is you want to do, and exhibit the willingness to do the things that it takes to get there. Put the work in.
So, kind of going back to your grandkids, how do you interact with them and encourage them to maximize, what they get out of life as well, and maximize their careers? Are you able to go historical as you did with your great grandmother, or
I do.
Okay.
I do. And they all respected their grandfather. And my grandson, is the last one to come along. He what I tell all of them is that you don't really know what you want to be, and it's okay not to know. Explore. And so he was having a little trouble with his exploration.
Okay.
And you got to do something. And so his grandfather had a sign on his office wall, and that had a lion on it. And I kind of prayed. I said, I don't know what would I tell him to comfort him, because I could see he was struggling. He wasn't giving us any trouble. I could see he was struggling with his decision. And so I gave him the sign that was on his grandfather's wall. And the sign said, every morning in Africa, a lion gets up and knows that he has to run faster than the fastest gazelle in order to eat.
Right.
Every morning, the gazelle wakes up and knows that he has to run faster than the fastest lion to stay alive. But whether you are a lion or a gazelle, you must get up running.
Oh, God. Let me tell you, that one got me through many years in college.
So I tell him that when I see him struggling. And it's the same thing for his sisters, and I've learned that, it's not the same. Children are individuals.
Yes.
It's not the same. It's not cookie cutter. It's not one size fit all. What works for one won't work for that. And that was what he was struggling with. His sisters had gone on to college. They finished a 2-year college. Okay. But nonetheless, they finished a program, and they have very successful careers in healthcare.
Right.
So he was struggling with that. How do I top that? He never said it, but I could see it. And I was like, good for you. Yeah. What do you want to do? So finally, I saw he had enough courage to say, I really want to do welding. And you know what I said? I said, yes, that's great. That's a great career.
It is.
But I don't think he expected me to say that.
Okay. Yeah, it's an amazing career. And, there aren't enough people. It's kind of like, nursing. There's a void in skilled laborers. So, plumbers and welders. And these are high paying jobs.
They are very high paying jobs. An automotive service technician who is good at their craft and can quickly diagnose and repair an automobile, a high end automobile, he's going to make 6 figures out the gate easily.
Right. Yeah.
People don't know that. That's a story we don't share nearly enough.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
Yes. So what would you say, or rather, how can men support women who are in business or in life in general? What's the role of men?
So you know what? I'm glad you asked that because, I think men can be mentors to women. And I'm a prime example of you. I told you about my mentor passed away. And I would say I always knew I was going to be a president. I just never thought I had to do it without her counsel. But her good friend stepped in, and it was like very seamless. He just started calling me and saying, "Hey, how's it going?" He was a fellow president. "How's it going? I'm looking at your numbers, and I think you should be doing this, that, and the other." And I would say to him, to myself, he thinks he's my daddy. Why is he calling, thinking he's my daddy? But he was such a good friend. He passed away recently too, and it was very, very hard for me. But he was such a good friend. But he mentored me. So I think that it's important for men to recognize that it is still hard for women. He recognized that, and he would say it to me. I know it's hard. It's harder for you than it is for me. He understood that, and he allowed he let me know that he knew that, and that was very, very helpful. So I think that men have to understand that yes, we've come a long way. We've come this far by faith, but yet there's still a long way for us to go. If you look at where women sit in boardrooms and in the C-suite, I mean, we're not there yet.
No.
Still a long, long, long way to go. So I think men need to recognize that we can't stop. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep moving. And they have to continue to lift women up. They have to recognize, particularly when they are in positions of leadership, where they can make decisions to support women and women leaders. I think they need to be sensitive enough to make those decisions and support those women to be all that they can be. And I am a benefactor of that. I know that it works because I've had it happen. And even in this space where I sit, I have some colleagues who are men who are very, very supportive. One in particular, we talk almost weekly, very supportive. So men have to understand that you can be supportive to women in the profession. You can lift them up, and you should lift them up. And when you have the opportunity to make decisions to right or wrong and to support a sister, do so. And it's the same, but it's the same thing for young men. I see from where I sit, I see young Black men who don't progress as fast as young Black women. I think it's incumbent upon us to lift them up too.
Right.
And so part of my work that I do is lifting them up too. I'm lifting women up because I'm phenomenal women's health and young girls, but I also work in some programs to lift young Black men up. Very, very proud of two grant supported programs that started under my leadership at both Atlanta Tech and Southern Crescent that support young Black men in education, young Black men who need financial support, who need mental health support, who need just to be told that you can do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think that that's very important on both sides. For men to support women and women to support men. Of course, a lot of the studies now are showing that there are more women, period, that are going into professional school. So just more women, period, doesn't matter what race, that are going into professional school, and first-time homebuyers are more women than men. So there are a lot of trends that are happening within within the country, but it's still kind of to your point. Women are having a tougher time, really kind of cracking the glass ceiling, if you will, and getting to the next level, getting to the C-suite and getting to the CEO suite. There's still a large disparity there. Obviously, I see a lot of that probably is going to change as there are more and more women that are getting their degrees and going into the workforce and going into professional school, so law school and medical school or what have you. And now women, the Titans, where I live in Nashville, so the Titans hired their first full-time woman coach.
That's awesome.
This past week, they hired their first African-American general manager a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of things are changing. But so as you think about some of these changes, how does it, how do you reflect on your past? You know, is this, would you say, and people say this all the time, what do you think your ancestors would say? Um,
Yeah.
but as you talk to your ancestors, is this what they wanted or envisioned?
I think so. And I think they would say, wow, and I knew we could progress, but I never thought we could progress the way that we've progressed. I never thought that there would be the opportunities that are here today. And I think they would say to continue to seize the moment and seize the day. Um, know who you are, what you want, and figure out the steps that it takes to get there. Um, yeah, I think that's what they would say.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I know it's almost time to wrap up. So this has been phenomenal for me. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I know I'm looking forward to hearing. A lot of times we hear later in the week as we run into people in our markets, people that I was, where people say, "Oh, I heard Dr. Thomas. Man, this is what she said, and I
Yeah,
enjoyed it." And we have men and women that listen
that's
uh,
right.
Yeah.
to the show regularly, and so I think what you're speaking directly to all of us, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Dr. Thomas, what would you say, just in two folds, any last thoughts or nuggets that you would leave with our guests, and then tell our guests how to connect with you, engage with you, if you've got any resources or things that you are promoting, feel free to do so as well.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I will say to people, one thing that I always have had as a screensaver is life is a journey, not a destination, and that's true. It's a continuum. Sometimes you go into a curve or you get thrown a curveball, just take the ball, throw it back, and keep going. It is not your environment, it is you that will shape and determine your life. And remember that the environment might be hard, but it is you who will shape and determine your life. And it may take a little more time, but keep pushing on to do it. Also, I say to mothers, leave a legacy for your offsprings. Know that they are watching you. Know that even if they're not your offsprings, other people are watching you, and always live your life in a way that you can be proud. My mom used to tell me, never do anything that you wouldn't want to see on the front page of a newspaper, and that's close to impossible. And I'm sure that we've all done things that we wouldn't want to see on the front page of a newspaper, but keeping that in the back of my head helps me to walk in a different way. Doesn't say I won't make a mistake, but it does help me to walk in a different way. And understanding that if I make a mistake, if it's less than optimal, that you can recover, um, and practice again self-care. Um, and then the last thing I'll say about it, and I think this is really important, and I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't say it this way: lift as you climb. Be a person who provides a beacon of hope for others. Support others in their career journey. Some of the things that I am very, very proud of is I'm proud to say that I have mentored at least 3 people to the presidency. So I have three good friends who are presidents in different states that worked for me, that I saw potential in, and I supported. And I will continue to do that in my journey. I think that is what we must do in order to help others and maintain a strong legacy.
Wow, that was powerful. My goodness, Dr. Thomas. Got a whole list of things things to share as a part of the recap, but this has just been truly, truly, truly phenomenal. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to grace the stage of Women with Grit and share all of your pearls of wisdom with all of our guests. Before I give the recap, how can our guests connect with you?
So my email is A as in Apple, P as in Paul, Thomas at att.net. And so a simple email is a great way to connect with me. And I do manage and follow and respond to my emails. So should you want to connect with me, please do so. I have, in the last year or so, started a consulting firm called the Peterman Group LLC. It doesn't have a website yet, but it provides support to others who are on the journey to career success. And so that's another thing that I'm working on developing. That's what I'm going to do when I grow up. But I tell people I'm giving this to you for free now, but one day you're gonna have to pay.
Right. That is right. My goodness, all of this, and just the nature of what you shared. So again, thank you so much. I want to give, just a quick recap. So again, if you guys are just now tuning in, my goodness, go and watch it from the very beginning. Catch the replay. Share this with someone who you know would benefit from the information from Dr. Thomas. So just to give you guys a quick recap, she talked about the nature of standing on the shoulders that came before you. Make them proud, right? Living a legacy that continues to build from the previous one. Gain strength from what others have done and what they've gone through so that you don't have to go through the exact same thing. But who do you want to be proud of you? And ask yourself, as you look around your circle and those that are immediately holding you accountable, who is holding you accountable to your success? Plant and grow seeds in others as well. Don't just take in information and continue to harbor it, right? As we say on the show, continue to share with others that you think would benefit from this information. Sometimes you just have to be gritty and lean into it. Take a deep breath. She talked about closing your eyes and determine where you want to be and then go after it. Carve out the steps. Take it one moment at a time if you need to in order to grow. But keep going, keep moving forward, keep pushing. Find your tribe, right? We talk about that every single week. Talk about finding your tribe, find your support system and those who will continue to invest in you. Have the kind of spirit that is unbreakable and never give up. Have people that speak not only into who you are now, but who you aspire to be and the ones that they can see you in the future, right? She talked about the nature of the individual, Brenda, who spoke into her about being a president, right? Pay respect to those who came before you. And even this prominent thought about when you think about your headstone, what will yours say? Based on what you're doing right now, what will yours say? And what will other people say about you? So recognize that. Not only is it what you believe that you're doing, but what is the perception of those around you? Are you doing the things now to reflect what you wanted to say? Self-care is so important. And also remember, what is grounding you? What grounds you, whether it be to your community, to yourself, to those that are around you as well. Never be afraid to explore your options when it comes to life and education, bearing in mind that as you decide or make a decision today, that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to modify, but also do internships and get engaged so that you can hone in on those things that are important to you, and never be afraid to put in the work. When it comes to men and how they can support women in industry, recognizing that we still have a long way to go. So men asking themselves, how can they help? How can they speak or be an advocate in the room if women are not there? But then also being sensitive to the roles that women play within an organization. And when you have an opportunity to do so, raise a hand and also be one of the stones that helps to help another woman up. Continue to seize the moment. She talked about also recognizing that it is important for you to know who you are, what you want, and then be willing to figure out the steps to get it. And then some prominent parting words: life is a journey, not a destination. It is not your environment, but it is you. It is you who shapes and determines where you go in life. Leave a legacy for your offspring and know that they are watching you. Always live your life in a way that you would be proud of. If you saw it on the front page, you know that you are excited about, and those that care about you, love you, and support you would also be proud of you. And lastly, lift as you climb. Be a beacon of hope that also lifts others up. Dr. Thomas, we thank you so much for your time, for gracing the stage of Women with Grit. It has been a phenomenal time having you here on the show. And our viewers, again, like, share, as well as connect with Dr. Thomas even offline. And until next week, we'll see you again. So take care and have a wonderful night. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Clap your hands, music from your neck to your tail, music,